And we're back after a quick little break. So, I've been looking around at this wonderful remove if and taking a look at the documentation. Apparently, every once in a while that helps. So, what's kind of interesting here is when we're using remove if is that removing is done by shifting by means of move assignment the elements in the range in such a way that the elements not to be removed appear in the beginning of the range. A call to remove is typically followed by a call to the container's erase method, which erases the unspecified values and reduces the physical size of the container to match its new logical size. So sort of the thing here is that we've only sort of reshuffled the elements. They're actually still there in some sense. They're just undefined now, or unassigned. So what we need to do, switch back to the code, is that we need to go down here where we're doing remove if and then call our chunks dot erase method here to actually get rid of those elements. So let's try that and see if that doesn't magically help and make everything better. So that was not the button I wanted to hit. I wanted to hit that one. Well, this is where I start wondering why it's just spinning, running forever here. Because that was not what I was expecting in any way. Let's just try stopping that, closing that tab, and trying once more. Okay, so that didn't help a lot. Let's try and see. We had this version a moment ago where we just had where we didn't remove anything. We just had all chunks stay there forever. Let's see if that still works. Still really challenging Firefox here. So yeah, that version works. It generates chunks nicely. So that's good. Now, let's see what happens if we go in and we say don't actually remove anything. So instead of having something logic or some kind of logic here, we're just going to always return false. See what that does. So we're going to refresh here. And that causes a nice infinite one. So something is really, really interesting here. So, thing is, we should probably be erasing more than that one element, by the way. We should probably be erasing all the way to the end. So, we're going to try and do that. So, we are going to go remove from the element here all the way until the end of my chunks. Like that. And try that. So we're going to try that again. And that at least seems to work, but right now we're not removing anything, as can be seen when we're going backwards. And I can see that Firefox got confused again. I want that one. So now we're going to add in the logic again. Great, let's transition over. Take a look at that. So we've now loaded in everything. So if we move forward, we mess up again. This is really, really weird. I'm not sure I'm entirely getting what's going on here. In fact, I'm fairly sure I'm not getting what's going on here. Well, interesting question is there something going on because I'm moving stuff? Is the chunk perhaps not compatible with being moved? It should be, because all of this is relatively simple. However, I'm not really a big fan of the fact that we're moving chunks around, because that's going to be expensive. So I think we might want to do something a little bit different. So what do we do? Now in principle, there should be a block for every single one. Or not a block for every single one. In principle, we should never change the number of chunks we are rendering. We should always be rendering one for every every element of missing chunks. So in theory, we could kind of do a free list, and everything that that should get removed should be replaced by a new chunk at some point. But that's a little bit difficult to keep track of. Would I want to start a game studio? Not really, no. Game studios generally aren't the best places to work. The tendency that it requires a lot of time and a lot of effort and a lot of overtime and stuff like that. I mean, of course, indie studios are different. But I don't see myself doing this full time. Well, at least not at current. It's more sort of a hobby. I do this because I enjoy it. That I don't want to lose that enjoyment by having to think about it as a job all the time as well. So yeah. No, I don't think I want to start a game studio. I mean, I can't say that if the chance turns up that I'll say no to it, but it's not really one of my priorities. I do this as a hobby because I enjoy it. And that's pretty much it. Now, how are we going to do this? because we could also, rather than having chunks themselves, we could work with pointers to chunks. That would allow us to resize the chunks vector a lot more without worrying about moving and copying, because then we're just moving and copying pointers. I think we're going to do that. It does mean we need to change the interface a bit. In fact, this is going to be a little bit annoying because I'm going to want to I want to keep my unique pointers here so that I have ownership of my chunks. But because I'm passing a constant reference out, I can actually pass those unique pointers out through the interface. Great. Or I'm passing a reference here. So now we have a little bit of stuff we need to do. This is now standard unique pointer of chunks. And that means when we are going through our chunks here, I would need to work with these as if they are pointers. That means I need to add an extra T reference down here as well. And here I'm going to want to push back a standard move of a standard make unique chunk based on chunk position.x, chunk position.y, chunk position.z. And let's see what happens. So, no matching function for blah blah blah. No, that was not actually where I wanted to go. I was interested in this lambda because it doesn't take a chunk anymore. It needs to take a standard unique pointer to a chunk. And it can just take that directly. I don't really need to indirect through it. And then it's called get chunk position like that. And then I have a call to an implicitly deleted copy constructor because there's no copy constructor. So where am I trying to copy stuff? I'm trying to copy that. So that still needs to be a const reference so that I don't actually copy that unique pointer, I just get a reference to it. No viable conversion here, which is sane enough. I want to do it based on the dereference of that. So let's see what happens now. We're allocating stuff more dynamically now. I'm going to switch over. I mean, we're still rendering the first part correctly, and this looks promising. The stuff gets removed behind us. So apparently it helps to do dynamic allocation of those, so probably there's something wrong with the move semantics of it. There's still some weirdish stuff, so it's not perfect in any way. Wonder what's going on with that. It's probably some kind of logic bug that I've got. Let's take a look at some of the code. Having trouble with the stream, I guess. Kind of annoying that it freezes every once in a while. So yeah, that's the thing. Just want to cut this down. I have a lot of dead code that we should get rid of, like that. Okay, so with that out of the way, let's just take a look at this. So we've got a list of missing. Okay, let's start up here. We run coordinates x, y, and z all the way through. Take all of those less than the radius squared to get a sphere. We generate our view sphere, and then we reserve a lot of chunks just to make sure they're there. Okay. Then here we create a set of missing chunks. We work through our view sphere and we emplace chunk position plus the chunk center, or the current coordinate that we're working at, y, and then the x, y, and z. So these coordinates seem correct. Then we go through our chunks. We erase those chunks that we find the ones we need to remove by going through our missing chunks and counting if it's in the missing chunks. If it's not, i.e. it's not a chunk we want to render, actually I want to rename this missing chunks. So these should be our render chunks. So we run through our chunks, and if it's not a render chunk, we remove it. Then we run through our chunks again. If this chunk is in the list of render chunks, then we erase that from the render chunks, and if we still have some left at the end, we try and instantiate one of these using the chunk position here. I mean, all of that seems fairly sane. And then we ask it to generate. Hey Panda, welcome back. I'm not really sure what's going on here. I mean, as far as I can tell, the code seems sane. If we don't remove anything, stuff works. Let's just validate again that stuff works when we don't remove anything. So we linked it. Gonna quickly reload. We get stuff loaded in. If I start moving around, stuff renders in fine. No, go ahead, send a paragraph to I don't mind. I mean, the more publicity, the better. Yeah, Panda, I don't think it wants the at. So, So it's still killing off the links. Interesting. Listen, Tolador, if you can whisper me the link, I'll take a look at it. Thanks, man. I'll have a look at it. Oh, the one missing chunk. It's just it's just when there's a missing chunk is when I move out and I need to generate a new one. Is when you get the missing chunk, one missing chunk message. It's just because it's not when everything is quiet and there's nothing missing. It's not printing anything. It's not like it says missing chunk 0, because that would just spam the console entirely. Oh. That's not entirely true, Panda. I know your skills, just not programming. Yeah, exactly. Creativity and idea machine, that's your job. Hmm.